Wait, you mean a
define
bar?
as stripping
You
is
mean
the removal of any clothing on
you mean a
stage
bar?
with no nudity. The act of removing clothing
the
is the
place
stripping
where
of clothing.
adults
Tim,
go.
so this is stripping?
If you were on stage for a bunch of adults,
Jeez, dude, he's so uncomfortable. He's like, look at him. That being said, Tim Pool had which I actually don't, let's see. Maybe a girl. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Tim Pool had a drag queen on to talk about Drag Queen Story Hour. It only took him like a year apparently. And again, this is, I kind of tie this all in because a lot of it is the same kind of the same kind of trans freak out and targeting of drag shows to kind of get at gender affirming care.
And the fact of the matter is, most drag performers are not grooming children. Most drag performers, when they are doing...
Unfortunately, she doesn't... I don't even... Okay, so off the bat, you don't even need to say most at all. You can simply point to, show me the string of child drag groomers. Go ahead. If you had some examples, you would show me them. Are there examples? I don't know. Maybe I'll Google it on the side. We'll find out. I'll Google it on the side. We'll see what the real numbers are.
Engaging in Drag Queen Story Hour, there's benefits to that. The benefits of Drag Queen Story Hour, kids love being read to. I remember being read to as a child. I remember sitting in the library, and I remember the librarian being a little boring and just, oh, kids, here's the story, here you go. When kids are imaginative, kids love imagination and fantasy and fun. And there is something that is very imaginative and fantasy-filled about drag performance, whether or not you are a cis or trans drag performer.
Wait, let me try one more. Yep. Yeah. I can't find even one statistic to even point me in the hemisphere of drag queens or Drag Queen Story Hour being dangerous for kids. There simply isn't grooming happening here. Because for there to be grooming, you would have to see a trend of sexual abuse, to which you don't see. So,
and so,
funnily enough, the only place you see that is
by drag performers because it's
Catholic
fun
Church.
and it's imaginative and it's fantasy filled, and they're not even saying, okay, you have to be a drag performer, you have to be trans, you have to be LGBTQIA. And that's part of the argument that I disagree with, that LGBTQIA people, and specifically drag performers, are grooming children. We're not grooming them. We're trying to say that you are welcome to be you as you are. If you are cis, heterosexual, fabulous. If you end up being queer, fabulous. We're not trying to steer you any particular way. But I remember...
It's mostly just they're trying to entertain people. That's really it. It's just entertainment. It's not like you don't have to be you don't have to be LGBTQ to enjoy a drag show. They can be just fun. There's no reason why you can't have fun with that. There's a long tradition of men dressing in drag in like Britain. Like it's just not really a big deal.
A queer child. And I remember not having any sort of mentor or model to look at, and I felt very othered and I felt very different, and it actually caused a lot of mental health problems. And so when you actually introduce children to the diversity of gender identity, to the diversity of sexuality, to the diversity of everything other than the cis heteronormative family, you show kids that it's okay to be you as you are. You don't have to follow this particular guideline that is, again, defined by the patriarchy. And you can be whoever you are, and you're welcome to be who you are.
It is defined by the patriarchy.
I'm not saying you must be trans, you must be a drag performer. But if you end up being that when you grow up, great. And I remember not having that sort of influence. And I remember...
It's really no different to me than like you ever go to school during like career day? Parents show up, you know, they're like, I'm a fireman, I'm in the military, and then you got you know, you got the dude in the side, you know, dude, I'm a cook, fuck off, it's fucking real. Like that, like you know, you got you got like the businesswoman. Oh, I work in you know, I work for like I don't know, fucking Wall Street or something. I don't fucking know. I you know, I'm a legal expert or whatever. You know, you have like all these are giving kids opportunities and like opening their I guess like opening their not their minds, but like their opportunities for them for like, oh, what can I be as an adult? Like as an adult, what can I be? I can be a fireman. I can be a cook who smokes all the time. I can be a lawyer. I can be all of these things. That's no different than what these drag shows are offering to kids. It's simply like for the kids who aren't, you know, who aren't LGBTQ, it's a opportunity for them to be around people who aren't like them and to kind of grow a comfort with those sorts of people. And if they are LGBTQ, then that's an opportunity for them to look at adults and be like, hey, like, you're not weird. You're not like some aberrant thing. You're with us. You're a normal person. We're all having fun here. There's nothing controversial about your existence. That's all it's offering to those kids. But like to a lot of these right-wing influencers, they have to be as inflammatory as they can because they want to make money at the end of the day. And because of that, they've gone with this groomer charge, even though they not have one shred of statistical evidence to back any of that up. If they were so concerned, and again, everyone always brings this up, and I'm not going to be any different. If Tim Pool, if any of these people were so concerned about the grooming of children, they would be making video upon video about the Catholic Church. But they're not, because it's not what they're interested in. They're interested in their culture war and making money because some people are bigots. That's it.
The impact that it had on my mental health as a queer youth in the late 1990s
Also, I'm
and the early
loving
2000s,
how
not seeing
articulate
anybody
this
that
person
was
is.
like me anywhere in society. And it made me fearful to be who I am.
Are you familiar with Desmond is Amazing?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts? I'll ask some questions, but I just want to let you open up.
Yeah, I don't know Desmond. I have seen.
You can really tell how like uncomfortable Tim is. I mean, Tim might be a true believer. He might also just be a transphobe. Or well, I shouldn't. He might honestly just be. I don't know. I mean, he kind of is a transphobe. But like, I feel like Tim is just somebody who's uncomfortable around, like non-straight people. And for that, that's why he's so reserved. Like we watched a bit of that, the back and forth with like Emma, from the Majority Report from Emma Vigeland, and you know, he's a lot looser here. He's a lot stiffer. He's a lot more nervous. You know, he's not.
Desmond online. I know that they are a queer youth who wanted to engage in drag, and I think that's perfectly okay. I don't think that Desmond's parents are
Desmond
behind
is
the scenes
amazing.
saying
11-year-old drag kid performing lip sync as Courtney Love. Okay.
you have to be a drag performer. We're trying to groom you to be trans. There is actually no benefit to it because queer people and trans people are overwhelmingly ostracized in the society that we live in, that I don't think that a person who didn't want to engage in that would choose to engage in that knowing the kind of ostracism and criticism and hatred that would come to follow. The thing.
Oh yeah, conservatives always want to play that game of like, you're just being trans for the clout. And it's like, no. What, like, there are laws being passed against these people. Their lives are being constantly debated and their rights restricted because of their identity. Why would you choose that? Why would anybody be interested in choosing like the harder lifestyle? Like, it's idiotic.
Things that I've read about this child are disgusting. And that's so much more horrific than this person saying, I want to put on a skirt and a wig and perform.
Whoa.
You're familiar with go-go dancing, I assume?
Yeah.
And bikini bars?
Sure, yeah.
In many states,
Yeah, those are.
what
Wait,
they
you mean a
define
bar?
as stripping
You
is
mean
the removal of any clothing on
you mean a
stage
bar?
with no nudity. The act of removing clothing is the
place
stripping
where
of clothing.
adults
Tim,
go.
so this is stripping?
If you were on stage for a bunch of adults,
Jeez, dude, he's so uncomfortable. He's like, look at him. He's like, look, this is he man. Okay. Let's observe this entire interaction one more time, because that, Tim's usually, Tim has a lot of confidence when he's going against leftists and those who are advocates for trans rights and for the rights of LGBTQ plus folks. But when faced down with an actual member of that community, somebody who is well spoken clearly, and somebody who's somebody who seems like they're pretty good at this, it seems. They should go on more stuff and just reveal how stupid this is. This is look at this dude. He's so fucking terrified, and he knows that he's about to get bodied.
Removal of any clothing on stage with no nudity.
No
The
energy,
act of
no
removing clothing is the
charisma.
stripping of clothing.
So, Tim, so this is stripping?
If you were on stage for a
Like,
bunch of
come
adults
on,
I'm on stage for a
dude.
bunch of adults right now.
offering you money for the explicit
Dude.
purpose of seeing you remove clothing, this is where
But that's not the definition you just gave, Tim. That's not. Wait. Go back. 1
to
second.
put on a skirt and a wig and perform.
of any clothing on stage with what they define as stripping
Uh-huh.
is the
Hit me
removal
with
of
it.
any clothing
Uh-huh.
on stage with
Uh-huh.
no nudity. The act of removing clothing is the stripping of clothing.
So, Tim,
Did he say with the money, with the nudity, with everything else? No, he didn't. He added all of those caveats afterwards because he knows he
so
looks
this is,
fucking
this is
stupid.
stripping?
If you were on stage for a bunch of adults
I'm on stage for a bunch of adults right now.
offering you money for the explicit purpose of seeing
Nope, Tim, you didn't say that earlier. You didn't mention for the money with the specific intention, because you can't write intention into laws the same way. Like to prove intention is kind of difficult, especially 'cause, like, it's just a higher bar legally to pass.
you remove clothing. This is where you have context matters, right? Like
yeah.
I think
Dude,
but I think
he's so broken right now. He doesn't know how to respond because he just got made to look like a fucking idiot. Because she took her because he said, states, some states in the United States define stripping as the removal of any clothing on a stage. On a stage as a performance. And homegirl's like, oh cool, I have a jacket on. Did I just strip? Is that what happened? Oh well, you see, it has to be like on a stage specifically for money and for the intention of nudity. How we prove that is a bit up in the air, but like, dude, fucking bodied, man. Jesus.
Get where you're going at, Tim, but here's the thing. Drag performers, like, there is the reveal of drag. I think that a lot of people just aren't familiar with drag culture.
They don't.
And there is
Nobody
this
has
idea of
any idea
performing
what
where
drag
there's a
is.
reveal.
You bitches
And that
about
doesn't
it.
mean stripping down and being sexual. Taking off a garment to show an undergarment does not mean that it is stripping or being sexual.
so. In I think South Dakota might be the state. There's a bunch of states. Women aren't allowed to be fully nude on stage, so they have what they
Yeah, makes sense. Who the fuck is this guy?
call bikini bars or go-go bars. The women will go on stage and do what is in every
Also, how many go-go bars do you think there are? How many? Let's look that. What did you say? South. Let's look it up. How Dakota. Let's see. If I do maps, will that like give me? So there are 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's go left to right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, this isn't. That's a bar and restaurant. Okay. So we got, that's a saloon. Okay, that's probably one. No, it's probably not one. Let's see. Kind of a hole in the wall place. Decent dancers. Okay. That's 2. Oh, it's a club. So okay, cool. So we got right. Fuck me. Okay. So we got one. We had two. Was that one? That's a bar and grill. That's a bar and resort. Let's go three. We'll go three. Oh, gentlemen's club. We'll go three. Three. Let's see. Best staff. Few years. Okay. Four. That's a strip club. That doesn't count. So three. Like, there's like a couple in here. That's a casino. I guess we could count that. But we're talking like in the entire state, there's easily less than 20 in the entire state of South Dakota. Like, maybe this isn't that big of a deal. Maybe go-go bars are kind of pretty niche. Like,
every way identical to what Desmond does on stage here, removing an outer layer of clothing in exchange for money from the audience. Desmond is a child.
Isn't that a YouTube?
I could be wrong. It's been several years. This was 2019. My understanding was that this was an adult bar full of adult males watching the child perform on stage and do things that
there was not a single woman in that entire like, Tim, how do you even verify this? It was in a bar. It was there were no women watching. They were like I don't even know how you would verify something like this.
Many have argued were sexually suggestive, especially in the Gwen Stefani portion of this, and then in exchange for money. So for many people who live, and we can just say perhaps in a more conservative area, this is indistinguishable from stripping. So this is an 11.
Right, but like but those people have those people have brain disease. Like, at the end of the day, like, regardless, like what you think of personally as stripping is irrelevant to me. What I care about is the legal definition of those acts. And like, certainly culturally, conservatives will call anything stripping. Anything. The her taking the jacket off, that's stripping to them. So what's your point, Tim? You all are backwards dumb fucks who don't know anything, who can't distinguish between fucking drag, go-go dancing, and stripping. You all just call it stripping. Like, you're all dumb. That's not anybody else's fault. I don't know what to tell you.
7-year-old doing the same things bikini dancers do for money.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's indistinguishable from stripping. You know, I, as a drag performer, I've been performing for 8 years now. And I will go out there and I might come out in something like this where I'm wearing a blazer and I perform and I take it off and people will cheer and give me money. Are they cheering and giving me money because I'm stripping and turning them on? No, it is entertainment and it's a performance and it's a part of queer arts. I don't think that this child, I don't think that they're trying to be sexual. I don't even think that the parents are trying to sexualize.
I don't know if, well, okay. Let's see. They're walking around. They're walking around. They're dancing. They're walking around. Oh, there's all males. There's photographers. Walking around. They're 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 whoa, fucking crazy. Insane. I've never seen kids walk around before. And yeah, people, yeah, like, they're performing. It's performance art. You give people you give people on street corners who are playing like music on their guitar or like banging a bunch of trash cans or whatever, when they're, you know, or if somebody rolls a piano through, you give them money too. What's the problem? It's called performance art. Christ.
The person. I think that this is a kid who has seen drag culture, knows that they're queer, and wants to engage in it in a way that is age appropriate. Did that child get naked on stage? I don't think so.
Bikini dancers don't get naked either.
Yeah.
So that's the issue.
Yeah, but also there's.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, Tim, so is it if you perform literally anything and are given money, that's stripping? If I go and play the piano in the middle of my city, and I took my jacket off at some point because it was like 105 degrees out, is that stripping? No, it's called performing. People tip people who are performing because they usually aren't getting paid for it. This is incredibly true.
There's a difference between standing up in a box
He is an idiot.
and go-go dancing, you know, thrusting yourself out there for very obvious sexual intentions versus somebody who is just doing a drag performance. And I think that's something that really bothers
And
me.
we watched, and also keep in mind, we just watched the Gwen Stefani one that he was like saying was like the extreme one. They literally just walked around and did dances. Like, that's it.
People equate drag performances with strippers and with adult entertainment. Drag performances are actually
Like when I was young, I would do
but there are
this.
specific performances that are appropriate for, say, Drag Queen Story Hour versus a nightclub.
Going to line.
When it comes to this,
I would definitely mostly agree. Well, okay, so it kind of depends, right? Like, if you're gonna go on Tim Pool, I would rather you go in the way that Emma Vigeland went and just like scorched earth and don't like expect a don't ever expect like to come back. If you're going on because you want to be friendly and you want to get on you want to come back as like a regular guest, I don't think that's helpful. Mainly because you're going to end up kind of downplaying a lot of his bigotry and nonsense. You want to like go in there and just fucking hammer the son of a bitch with like facts and everything else. You're looking to embarrass him live in front of his audience. Emma after the said wanted. Oh yeah. I saw that, but like. Again, Emma and the rest of those guys can just put out a video that goes, okay, here's what Tim said. Here's the context. He's not like there. It's not in quotations. He's literally just trying to draw this because he has no, like you kind of expose the good thing of, not the good thing, but like the positive end of that is it only makes Tim look fucking ridiculous. And it only shows how he doesn't like actually care because anybody, and his audience is made up of a lot of like center right, libertarian and like far right guys. But anybody with even a shred of audience is going to watch that interview and see how he mischaracterized her behavior. And that will chip away a little bit and go, okay, look, I watched that. Tim, you know you're lying. And most of them don't care. But your goal is to shave off that little bit that'll kind of expose a few of those. It's not you're not going to win the audience, but if you can sow some doubt, that's very good. Yeah, I mean he does. I mean he'd love to cover it, absolutely. But yeah, that's the whole thing with him is you wanna shave off that little bit of people that doubt, because there are people who are gettable. It's just you have to make Tim look ridiculous, and you have to, and like. Luckily, he does that for himself without you even having to do anything.
Thanks,
you, I appreciate that.
I was kind of like this kid on the opposite direction. I got into Little League because I was groomed and felt pressure to make my parents happy.
Yeah.
Hello, I can agree with that.
So I went into Little League when I really wanted to.
How many kids are
really
groomed into sports because their
in my
parents really
queer
like
was a
sports?
slur. I'm 53 years old, so I'm a little old, from a different generation.
Ooh. Oh,
so
yeah.
Queer was an offensive thing to call.
We watched that Homos in the Military clip earlier from Bernie.
As far as like influences, gay influences, I grew up. Now this is in the 80s. I grew up across the street from two moms. I think a lot of this tolerance that they're trying to thrust on the public starts at the home, and it's like. These kids come from tolerant homes, and so
but what about the kids that don't come from tolerant homes?
Well, I don't think those are the kids that are being read to.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but that's the thing. There are queer children being raised in homes that are intolerant. Mm-hmm. I myself.
So also in terms of like the parental rights, every time somebody brings up the parental right to like educate their own children about gay or trans or anybody else. Think about that argument in the context of race, and then see if that passes the smell test, because it won't. Because the idea that like parents should be able to decide when their kids are ready to know when other people in our society exist is fucking nonsense. At the end of the day, it is a school's job to educate and prepare children to enter into the real world, in the real world, trans people and gay people and everybody in between, black people included, all exist. Therefore, withholding that information to me is a lot more abusive than not. at the end of the day, the prerogative of racist parents to raise their children to be racist and ignorant it's not something I think the government should be interested in supporting.
Grew up in a home where my parents became much more tolerant when they realized that I was a queer person, and there was a lot of hesitation and objection at first.
Most people,
that
parents
was
are
based
shocked
off of what they had learned
and
growing
then,
up. And so we're perpetuating
they love their
this
kids.
culture of gay is weird, LGBTQIA is, oh, that's other. You don't know. Don't engage in that. That's adult content. There's something wrong with that. I wish I had grown up in a school environment where I had adults and other people around me saying, it's okay to be who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the, oh, go ahead.
No, I guess, because like I said, I grew up in an earlier time and I did not have your experience at all. My experience came from other kids. I don't know can I say faggot on here? I was called a faggot every day. Every day of my life, I was called a faggot. And,
yeah, I mean, Xbox Live, dude, that was like all you ever fucking heard, that and the N-word.
I was still myself, and I don't know. And I think that's what we need to be teaching kids is not for me to tolerate something that you do, but for you to be able to take my opinion.
Is that true? I wouldn't be super shocked. Only really because like Catholics, because what's it called? Didn't the Pope like come out like pro gay marriage and stuff? It's been a while since the last time I went to church, but I do know. I guess it just kind of depends. If you're like fundamentalist, regardless of if you're Catholic or Christian, you're gonna be pretty conservative. But I think honestly, I think regular people who are just religious like are as progressive as everybody else normally is. It's really only the fundamentalists that seem to put up the most pushback against progressive values.
Okay. And still be you.
But that's the reason that doesn't happen is because queer kids are growing up in environments that are not necessarily queer. And when you ban any sort of LGBTQIA education from school levels until you get to high school, that's where you breed people who fear and who other folks who are LGBTQIA. The reason that you were called a faggot, the reason I was called a faggot was because those other kids grew up in environments where they heard their parents calling other people
it was
faggots.
Never because your KD was below 1.0.
That's what we're trying to do is trying to let folks and let kids today in this generation know that it is okay to be queer. It's okay to be LGBTQIA.
This is easily the longest I've ever heard
there's nothing
Tim not talk
sexual about being LGBTQIA.
Because he doesn't know what to say. He has no idea how to engage
about
this.
Being cis heteronormative. And there is a connection there, of course, according to who you love and who eventually you have sex with. Right. But that doesn't mean that we're trying to teach kids about explicit sex.
I gotta completely disagree. We have these two books here, Genderqueer Lesson.
Oh, for fuck's sake! We looked at this. It's a book. You fucking prude. It's a book. Get over it. God.
So this book is gay more so explicitly teach about overt sexual acts, depicting them, and were provided to children.
High school.
Sometimes
now,
high
Tim,
school.
let me ask you: when you say children, what do you mean by children? Because children could be 0 to 18. What do you mean by children?
So this was 10-year-old. This is middle schoolers. This book is gay specifically was given to.
Wait, yeah, middle schoolers. When we start teaching them sex ed, yeah.
You don't think that middle schoolers who are starting to go through puberty and who are starting to have sexual intercourse and starting to experiment with sexuality, you don't think that any of them are queer and might need to learn about queer experience?
There's a difference between sex ed and This Book is Gay, which teaches those children how to use Grindr.
Fuck, it's not what I wanted. Why does he always bring up the Grindr bit? Also, okay, now does he have more videos on this? I want to see I want to see his like, what's it called? Consistency on Dylan Mulvaney photo censorship. Oh, is this the blur out Dylan Mulvaney's tits then? Okay, that's lovely. This is 2 hours. I don't have 2 hours. Okay, I want to get to that part because I'm really curious about how that conversation went.
Idea that drag performers are just sexually explicit, see themselves the way that they see
the men argue that they can't control themselves.
Of language. I have done drag queen story.
Okay, wait. Okay, I know how we can find this. Transcript. Control F. Gender. Fuck me. Gender. Queer. maybe? Is it like, let's see, these 2 books here. Oh, here we go. Like, it's so pathetic because this is all he has. All he has is this book. That's the only thing he has.
These 2 books here, Genderqueer less so, This Book is Gay more so, explicitly teach about overt sexual acts, depicting them.
Cool.
And we're
So did Looking for Alaska back in, when did I read that? I probably read that in high school. Yeah, like books have sexual themes that happen.
provided to children.
Themes and acts that
sometimes
Now,
happen. Get over
Tim,
it.
let me ask you, when you say children, what do you mean by children? Because children
10-year-olds.
could be 0 to 18. What do you mean by children?
So this was 10-year-olds. This is middle schoolers. This book is gay specifically was given to.
You don't think that middle schoolers who are starting to go through puberty,
And keep in mind, saying middle schoolers, not all middle schoolers are 10 years old. Middle school is, at least where I went, was 7th to 8th grade. Some places it's 7th to 9th, meaning that if they're sharing a library, there's going to be a pretty wide range of literature available to them. Genderqueer might be useful more for the 9th graders, not as much for the 7th graders, but certainly maybe like it depends for the 8th graders. But like the book needs to stay in there so like people have access to it. Like, you know, we don't like, there isn't like a fucking force field around like book sections based on categories or based on appropriateness. There's just all of the books and everyone has access to all of them, but you're not going to go and find genderqueer if you're like in 7th grade and you're not interested in those topics.
and who are starting to have sexual intercourse and starting to experiment with sexuality, you don't
That's also
think that
true.
any
Middle
of them
school, yeah.
are queer and might need to learn about queer experience?
There's a difference between sex ed and This Book is Gay, which teaches those children how to use Grindr, right? I think this goes.
Wait. Is it teaching kids how to pick up on Grindr, or is it teaching kids what is appropriate on Grindr? Like, I don't know if Grindr is like, if it's like, oh, okay, so you go to the Apple store, you install, you enter your email, you enter your username, you upload a scantily clad picture of yourself. The first guy that messages you, tell them you want to suck their cock. Like, I don't think that's what is in the book. This book is gay. But it probably, and this is my guess, it most likely is a book that's going to tell gay youth, hey, you know that thing Tinder that all the straights are on, and that thing OkCupid and every other straight-centric dating website? There's one for you as well. It's called Grindr. Here's like the whatever. Like, there you go. Like, and to me, if you're learning that in a school, if you're learning that on an education, like from a book that's like trying to educate you of like, oh, here's this other resource that you can use for dating if that's a thing that you want to use. You're not just stuck with, putting like a gay tag on like your Tinder account or something. I don't actually know if that's a thing you can do, but yeah, like there's nothing wrong with that information. Doesn't hurt anybody. It just is more information for people.
We can go back to earlier on, I think, where a lot of the argument comes from. There is the
It's gonna
granular
be
and there's the macro.
hypotheticals.
When you look at a single instance of, say,
micro
just
and macro, you
someone
idiot.
dressed as a woman, drag, reading to a child, we can argue, well, it's simply just reading a story. But when you look in the whole big picture of it, you have these instances where this book in particular teaches about eating feces.
Okay, well, I want you to know that I don't personally endorse any of these books. It's really easy to put two books on the middle of this table for this particular interview and say, hey, look, this is what's being shared. This is not in every single.
Also, okay, I'm just like, I've heard this one before. What do they, okay. Eating. Wait, that's a disorder? Hold 1 second. Is a rare distress disorder characterized by symptoms of compulsive consumption of feces. Several attempts have been made to need in literature to explore the path of no. This book is nope. Gay. Show me. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able. Nope, nothing. Really, nothing. Where are they getting this from? I don't know. Like, what are they talking? Okay, here we go. Is this new tab? What? No, that's what? What is this feces thing they're talking about? I haven't read this book and I know Tim hasn't. So what is he even talking about? Anything? Okay, let's see. Scat is the fetish of eating or smearing feces during sex. Oh, that? Reading this is infuriating me, not because it's an LGBT focused book, but because the actual gay man I felt like queer and LGBT kids supposed to deserve better than this. The truth of the matter is the whole entire book could be written just by being a gay young man and just about being a non-binary individual. This book feels hastily written and a disgrace to the resource for things LGBT teens actually need to know. Tell me, why does the cheat sheet section of the vocabulary word include scat, eating poop? Oh, that's also not it, but not even the word versatile. How many gay men do you know eat poop? Da, 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 da. Okay. So yeah, it's like an element. It's like a thing. It's a thing that people engage in, which is like, all right, like people are into what they're into. I mean, it's not really my place to make judgments on that. Okay, fair enough.
Always here. Like we have a bunch of books, and
but here's the thing: is it's really easy to pick two books that depict that and say, well, this is what LGBTQIA education is about, and that's not true. Let me tell you this.
Yes, but
in the Netherlands, there something that they do is they actually have comprehensive sexual education for everyone from kindergarten through 12th grade. But here's the thing, kindergartners are not learning about sexual intercourse. They're learning things in an age-appropriate manner. They're learning that, oh, this person might have two daddies or two mommies or something along those lines. It's not explicit. So while I agree that this kind of content shouldn't be in a lot of schools, there is a certain age that you approach when you are a teenager and you've gone through puberty and you're
yeah, it's like if you find that book in an elementary school, then we'd all probably be like, okay, maybe not that. Like probably leave that into a middle and high school. But like again, like every time I go and look or I read articles or I hear about parents on Twitter bitching that they found genderqueer or this book is gay, in libraries, it's always high schools and middle schools. They always say it's kids and they say it's young children, but then when you actually press them, they go, okay, look, it's middle schoolers and high schoolers when, they're starting to, start to explore that sort of stuff. And like their entire argument falls the fuck apart.
Starting to self-actualize and self-realize and figure out who you are. And if you don't have resources, again, you are feeling othered and you're feeling different. You're feeling like there's something wrong with you. I can speak this way because I was somebody who recognized that I was queer when I was a teenager. And the reason that I promote this idea that we should have LGBTQIA age-appropriate education through all levels of school is because I don't want any other child to feel how I felt going through school, but whether it be through adults or my peers.
And these are the books that are being adamantly defended. So for instance,
well, I'm not defending these books.
Well, let's be clear. The existence within the library is being defended. Not like Tim wants to paint this as like, teachers groups are defending these books that all kids should read them. And he doesn't say that second part, but that's the implication that he's trying to make. Even though, actually, can we look at his chat? I'm kind of curious. What is his chat saying?
Books. Right. Just to let it be known, I'm not defending these books. There's probably explicit imagery in here that you're going to show me. And it's the same thing that, well, you might not show them, but whether or not these books have them, there are lots.
Claps. Oh, let's see. What is this? Valuetainment is a good podcast. It's awful. I've made fun of them multiple times. Boston drag queens. If you aren't overtly sexual, then what's up with the makeup? Is makeup sexual? Fucking idiot. Let's see. Yeah, okay, let's see. Netherlands no longer does trans surgeries for children. Yeah, that's because of politics, not because they found some study. It's literally just because of politics. Let's see. Parents' jobs. Well, when parents don't want to teach their kids, what do you want?
A lot of right-wing people who are bringing about these books that do have explicit imagery. I don't condone that. I don't think that we should have books for, elementary school students that depict images of people getting blowjobs or having intercourse. I disagree with that. What I agree with is age-appropriate, letting people know that queer people exist, that cis heteronormative culture is not the only thing out there. And you yourself might be queer and don't think that there's something wrong with you because it's not everything that you see around you.
So this is one of the principal issues, particularly with This Book is Gay, a teacher provided to middle schoolers, kids between the ages of 10 and 12. It describes scat, right? And things like that.
Oh, keep in mind also, when he says provides, he means that it was an option out of like, I think, if I remember correctly, it was 8 different reading options. and kids could pick this book is gay if they wanted to, but they weren't required to. Also, did he say what age range? I'm kind of curious. Because something tells me it wasn't elementary school.
Out there. And you yourself might be queer, and don't think that there's something wrong with you because it's not everything that you see around you.
So this is one of the principal issues, particularly with This Book is Gay. A teacher provided to middle schoolers,
middle schoolers, again, middle schoolers, the people who are starting to explore sexuality. Yes.
Between the ages of 10 and 12. It describes scat.
Do you think they're
things,
closer to the
like
10s or the 12 number?
Absolutely inappropriate for 10 or 12-year-olds. When people on the right, predominantly, not completely, but they tend to be the one leading the charge on these things, said, hey, wait a minute. In fact, what happened was parents called the police saying that the teacher was providing, illicit materials to the children. NBC News ran an article showing a different book about what you would describe as just explaining queer experiences and did not explain what was in the book. It was only because right-wing personalities, disaffected liberals, libertarians, whatever, the people on that side, started tweeting.
Oh my God, disaffected I never want to hear disaffected liberals. Also, teacher, police, this book is gay. Reported to the police. Was there a conviction? Nope. 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 Igniting social, yeah. Yep. Let's see. Title suggests the book centralizes perspective of LGBTQ plus people. Yep. I think I read this already. Yeah. There hasn't been a conviction. There hasn't been anything. They just called the police. This is the same thing where it's like, oh, they got the police called on them. Cool. Did it come to anything? Did the police find anything? Oh, well, no, not really. But so it's like, oh, so it was bullshit then. So it's meaningless. Yeah, it's literally just meaningless nonsense.
Tweeting images of the book showing that it's not just
I've seen them. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But so what happens is when someone says, hey, this is not appropriate for kids, the response that you see for the most part from high-profile personalities, maybe not you, is defense of the book. In fact, our guest who came on the show a couple weeks ago adamantly defended this book.
Oh, is this he's Emma. He's talking about Emma.
Being for children.
He's still mauling about that.
Saying it was a good book and it shouldn't be censored.
Yep.
That is what fuels concern among those who are saying this is grooming.
My issue is in one of these books.
Well, it's always like
talking.
What's What do you mean by grooming? What's the action that you mean by grooming? Is it educating? Like at the end of the day, this all comes down to the idea that you can be convinced to be gay. You can be convinced to be trans. You can be convinced to do any of these things. Anybody can be gay with the right programming. And that's just markedly untrue. You could not convince me to like penis. I'm sorry. It's just not a thing you could ever convince me to do because I'm a secure, a cis straight man. But guys like Tim Pool pretend that they think the same thing. They don't, obviously. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, what are we arguing about here? Like, you think it's a choice. You think you can be convinced to be gay. Watch some gay porn. See if, maybe, Tim Pool watched some gay porn. He goes, God damn it. It's so hard. Not supposed to be.
About queer or gay things. That's where they refer to scat in these books.
But also, do you think that that scat is limited to LGBTQIA queer culture? And I guarantee you there are straight people out there engaging in scat.
And that's exactly right.
That is exactly my point. And why they're selling it as a gay thing. Right. And so I don't know who the hell authored that book who claims that scat is a gay thing, but I think we should be going after the author for them being inauthentic because
I think this is a really good point that often when it comes to so scat specifically, I can't believe we're even talking about it. It's in the glossary. It's in the
Can you define it, Tim?
Wait, is it described in the book? Now I'm wondering if it's just in the
glossary.
It reads eating poop. That's what it says. Then it says scissor sisters.
Cool.
It describes.
But see, Tim, don't you see how when these things are very adamantly portrayed in the media, folks who don't know or don't think that they know queer people or trans people, this is what they think queer culture is about. I can tell you as a queer person that queer culture is not about scat. I don't care if there's a rainbow on there.
Right. I want to know who wrote it.
If some adult wants to, engage in that, whatever, that's on them. But I will tell you that the majority of people who want to see LGBTQIA education in schools in an age-appropriate manner don't want to see kids being taught about scats.
Well,
and that's the fact of the matter. But the thing is, folks who, again, have never met a queer person or think they haven't met a queer.
Yeah, the actual problem with that would be like aligning that specific, I guess like that specific like act as like a gay thing when it's not. That's pretty broad across like all, sexual proclivities. That's just, it's a fetish. Again, not a bit odd, but again, that's not my. That's what you're into. That's what you're into. It's not my business to know, and it certainly isn't the government's business to know.
Queer person or a trans person, they think this is what all queer people are saying. Hey, kids, learn about scat. No, that's not the case at all, and I very adamantly disagree with that. But again, I don't think this book should be banned from libraries, but maybe it shouldn't be in an elementary library.
That tends to be the main issue, right? With it,
Right.
But that's the thing
That's the
is,
only-
Except it's not. You said middle schoolers earlier, you fucking idiot.
you mentioned earlier, you said somebody said. Well, that's the thing. Somebody said. What bothers me is that so many people who are against LGBTQIA education in schools, they take these outlier situations. They take this one person who has said this and makes it the representative of the whole LGBTQIA community, which is not true. That's false.
And let's think about this. Let's be like, let us revel in the left's fairness. As leftists, we could come out almost once a month and deride the Catholic Church once a month for how much grooming goes on in the Catholic Church, and make it a whole like, all Catholics are so awful. They don't care. All they want to do is rape children and blah, 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 all this stuff. But do we? No. Nobody engages with that kind of vile shit from the left, because we understand that, like, yeah, is there, sussy and bad behavior committed by people within groups? Yes. Is there like some representation that isn't always like great of some groups? Sure. But like at the end of the day, we don't paint all Catholics, all Christians with the brush of the Catholic church's awkward groomer problem. We just don't. It's not a talking point. The only time it's brought up is to show and illustrate the hypocrisy of people like Tim Pool, who claim to care about children and grooming. They don't. If they did, they'd care about the Catholic Church. I think that religion has value for individuals in some form or fashion. It doesn't have value to me, but I'm sure it does for others. And I'm not going to give somebody shit because they're Catholic, just because the church just because of the religion that they follow has a problem with like their groomer problem. That's the church's problem. And I critique that structure of the church, but I don't critique the normal man who goes and sits in the pews. He just goes and sits in the pews. God's sakes.
And so I disagree that kids should be, given books that have explicit imagery. And when I say kids, I mean, elementary school students. When you start to go through puberty, you're going to start to do your own exploration. Kids are smart enough to know how to use the internet to go and find porn if they want to do that.
So
I don't think they should do that, but kids are going to do that. I remember being a queer teenager, and I remember having to seek out queer pornography because I couldn't find it anywhere.
Well, so would you agree with the Florida legislature and Ron DeSantis in removing these books from the curriculum?
Here's the thing. Are these books in the curriculum?
In the schools, I believe.
See that? It's so evident how like full of shit Tim is, because all it takes is one like corrective pushback and his entire argument breaks down, because he says, Are you okay? Do you agree with Ron DeSantis taking these books out of the curriculum? Are they in the curriculum, Tim? Oh, well, no. Actually, they're just in the school libraries for high schoolers and middle schoolers. Okay, so they're not being taught. It's just a resource that if kids want, they can have, and it's completely voluntary. Gotcha. Cool.
Because there's a big difference between these books being in the curriculum versus being available for somebody to rent out at the library if they want. What is wrong about
grade school libraries?
But
What?
Let me ask this.
What's grade school, Tim? Like he keeps trying to change his terminology because he wants to keep characterizing this as like 7-year-olds when it's almost the majority of times we've seen this be in schools, it's middle schoolers. It's like 11 to 13-year-olds, or it's 10 to 12-year-olds or whatever. Because middle school around the country isn't always the same. The range varies. Our middle school was in our high school. Like our middle school and high school were the same building, so we had access to everything 7th grade all the way through 12th.
I don't know the conditions of every school in Florida. Because a lot of schools have multiple grade levels. If there is a school that is, elementary through high school, then yeah, I'm sure that there are some teenagers who might want to read this content, might want to learn about that. Am I endorsing it or condoning it? No. But do I think it should be banned? No. I think that's dangerous when we start to censor. And it's so interesting to me because, the right frequently is going off about First Amendment and free speech, and then they go and they try to censor any sort of LGBTQIA content because the child might perhaps see it. The thing is, I don't believe in my heart of hearts that this is being endorsed on a large scale to young children. There might be a few bad actors, but I don't think that they speak for the LGBTQIA community in the same way that I don't think.
And keep in mind, think about all of the individual stories that you can think of teachers promoting this book or books like it to children. Like, think about that for 1 second. You've heard how many? What? 6? Like I've heard less than 10 individual stories of teachers like pushing this book onto kids or introducing it in a way that's like more than just an option, like more than just like, oh, this book exists amongst you, right? Like the examples of this being predatory are so few and far between that it's irrelevant. But like Tim and the rest of these guys will jump on one anecdote to be like, oh, this is being given to children across the nation. Slow down. Can you tell me where you're getting across the nation? Oh, well, there's this one teacher. Okay, there was one. You've got one example. Can you name me the second example? Do you know how many teachers there are in the United States? Okay, what percentage of those are doing the thing that this one teacher that you found are doing? Oh, well, I don't have that data. Oh, you don't have that data. So you're just kind of saying it. You're just supposing it. It would just really work with your narrative now, wouldn't it?
Think that any given pedophile who is cis heterosexual speaks for the whole cis het community.
So this is quite literally the perspective of the right on grooming. That you would argue in any way children should be able to access this is grooming.
But having a book in a library, is that actually grooming? Is there a librarian there or, teachers and adults saying, hey, check out this book and read it and look at all of the imagery? And if there is, I will tell you right here that those are outliers. That's the big.
And keep in mind also, like, you've been to a library. Do librarians talk to you unless you ask them for a recommendation or you tell them your interest and they go, okay, I got a book for you. Like, no. The only time this gets recommended is when kids mention, or at the very least, like kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Actually, what am I saying? We saw this at like a middle school. This dad had his kid go and talk to like a librarian and kind of use the buzzwords and kind of hint at the book that they wanted to check out. And then when the librarian like gave them, I think it was gender, I don't remember which, it was one of the moral panic books. But when the librarian's like, oh, okay, it kind of seems like they're trying to tell me what book without telling me, so I'm just going to give them this book. And then they took it home, they told their dad, and then their dad like took them to like a thing and they read it out loud and it became a whole thing. And it's like, good job, idiot. You just exposed your kid to the stuff that you think is grooming. To make a point. You just use your child as a tool. Somebody should probably call CPS on you. But yeah, and it's like, yeah, if there is a child that's like you know, kind of giving a librarian the vibes that they might, you know, be that genderqueer might be a useful book for them to read, then they'll recommend it to them. If not, there are a ton of other books that they can recommend to them. Like, these aren't the only gay books in existence.
Argument. That's the big thing that the right uses to go against queer people is you take these outlier situations and try to apply it to the whole LGBTQIA community,
But there's
which is not true.
very few people speaking out against it.
The same happens on the right as well. They're also not a monolith. And
Hi.
I have been that drag queen that
Hello.
has been there for the right and the conservatives, and you wouldn't believe the
They hate
emails
you,
that
my
I
dude.
get
I'm sorry.
from conservative parents, Republican parents who have gay children, and they don't know how to deal with it because the LGBTQ community abandoned them. They have demonized all of the right. They've abandoned.
Yes, because, okay, let's be really, really clear. Like, the right as a political and social movement has been making strides to strip the rights from these people. You can say like, oh, well, the LGBT community abandoned conservative parents. To which my response would be like, really, when did that happen? Did that happen when when every conservative representative in the United States came out against gay marriage, the equal, the ability for gay people to be equal in marriage in this country? There isn't. Gay people, the LGBTQ community, never abandoned conservatives because conservatives never stood with them. There was no abandonment. They were never in support of them. That's why. This is nonsense. Utter nonsense.
They have.
I think it's the reverse.
Even
Hein.
your
But
own.
Loudoun County is not even the right, right? So Loudoun County is literally 10 seconds from here. And this is where parents came out and said,
Loudoun County is more. Actually, let's look. I don't know what Loudoun County is like, but if I remember correctly, Loudoun County is pretty conservative. Loudoun. Granted, it's been a while since I've lived there. Voting patterns, maybe. Election results. Loudoun County government, maybe. Let's see. Oh, let me do Virginia. Oh, here we go. 2008, Loudoun was a Republican-leaning state. However, this has changed in recent years. Democrats winning all statewide campaigns after 2014, and Democrats holding 2/3 majority. Oh, okay. Loudoun County's okay. So Loudoun County's moved more blue. Okay, that's good. This is just for the county? Okay, cool. Oh yeah, that's right. Tim's in. I thought he's in West Virginia. He's not that close. Is there a Loudoun County in West Virginia? Am I crazy? West County in Virginia. No, it's only in the first one. It's only in that one. Yeah. Let's see. Loudoun County Super Board of Supervisors is 2019. Presidential election results for Loudoun County. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Oh my goodness, I cannot. Can I get? Well, let's go down. 1980. 18. Oh my God, 1880. Let's see. Well, okay, we have to do after 1964. Okay, yeah. So after after the civil rights movement, or at the very least, like in the after the civil rights bill passed, that's civil rights movement. It was 64, right? Pretty sure it's 64. Yeah, after the parties switch from 1968 all the way to 2004, it's been Democratic leaning, which, yeah, that makes sense. In 08, it's flipped and then stayed flipped until up to recently. Okay, so only recently has it like really flipped blue then. In the last, what is that, 20? Well, the last like 20 years or so.
why was this book given to my kids? The response? Condemnation by the LGBT.
Show me,
Probably, yeah.
were these books subscribed to children? Were they given to children? If it's something that's in a library,
You keep pulling a bunch of different stories.
but again,
story after
I
story.
see you keep pulling these things up. But again,
am I supposed to do?
this is not.
Yeah, she offered an LGBT themed book to the middle schoolers. Yeah. This is the same story from out of Chicago. Yeah, or actually, this one might be different. Oh, they filed. Oh, well, also, not only that, but filing a police report doesn't fucking mean anything. You know what happened? She filed a police report, and the police went, "That, ma'am, that's not what we do. We're not the book police. We have actual crimes." The notion that I was putting children in danger because of books, I knew I couldn't go back. Yeah, and then this person probably quit. Oh no, this was Illinois. Yeah, nothing happened to this person because there's no provable harm being done here.
This is not representative of what is happening everywhere. It's very easy to pick and choose these specific instances where that happens. And yes, I agree with you. I don't think that this sort of content should be given to exclusively elementary school children.
Should this teacher be criminally charged for providing instructions on Grindr to minors?
Nope.
I don't know if they should be criminally charged, but I think that
Did they provide instruction or did they just give them a book? Also, which book was it?
that person might understand how difficult it is for queer people to meet other queer people in the context of an environment where they are ostracized. And
Also, yeah, Grindr, much like Tinder, is as much a dating site as it is just a socialization tool. People get on Tinder and will put, "I'm just looking for friends. I just moved to a new city." And I would guess that the same thing happens for Grindr as well.
And told that there's something wrong with
them. These are middle schoolers being given sexually explicit books that discuss scat, scissor sisters, and how to use Grindr.
But again,
what's wrong with scissor sisters?
Is this widespread? This particular article that you brought up, is this happening in every school district, in every county, in every state? No, it's very easy.
I don't think
to
whether
pick
it's
and
happening
choose
everywhere.
and pull up.
Well, no, Tim. Whoa.
Argument for whether this is illegal.
But that's what I'm saying. It's very easy to.
First of all, I don't think you could argue that it's illegal. A, B. This is the claim you're making, is that it's happening everywhere, but you only have one example from less than 25 of the states in the union. This isn't a thing that you can find and reproduce in multiple states.
To pick and pull out this particular
You can do that on any
instance.
topic.
Right,
I mean, you can do it with racism too.
But
And so,
similarly,
yeah,
then
I disagree with
it should
this.
be very
I
easy to
disagree.
say
I don't. Yeah,
the teacher should be arrested.
to come down to it, I don't think that a teacher should be telling middle school
For what?
students how to use Grindr. I don't think that.
Or Tinder or any other
Exactly.
site.
Exactly. I do disagree with that. And that's the thing is I want to make it clear that I am against the grooming and sexualization of children. But what I want to make clear is that the overall message of the LGBTQIA community and the overall inclusion of LGBTQIA history and education in school districts is not focused on sexualizing children. And that's what it's been warped into. And of course, I care about kids. I don't want to see kids harmed or sexualized or, falling victim to pedophiles. I don't want to see that whatsoever. But the story has been warped that this is.
And let's keep in mind, if at the end of the day, children are more in danger in the church and in the home than they are at drag events, at school libraries, at any of these places. At the end of the day, your child is children in the United States are more in danger at home because those are the environments, and the church, those are the environments that we see the most amount of predatory behavior by adults to children.
An overarching theme of the LGBTQIA community. And
Well, because
that's what
they
I'm here to
defend
defend.
And
It's because overwhelmingly, the LGBTQIA community, in terms of its most prominent speakers, have been actively defending these books.
Well, I would consider myself to be a speaker of the LGBTQIA community as the first drag queen ever elected to public office in the United States.
Wait, she's a fucking elected official? That's fucking based. Holy shit. Fucking hats
as a
off.
trans person running for a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives.
Amazing.
I'm not telling kids that they should be reading this material.
But you
What
want it
I'm
available to them in libraries.
Well, again, based on age.
Tim, you fucking idiot. There's a difference. Jesus, how many times? Again, you can tell he's lying mainly because he can't grasp this very, very simple concept that not every book in a library is recommended for everybody. And the idea that you have a book in a library is not the same thing as it being instructed to children. There are how many books in any given library? How many books do you think any one kid reads from any one high school, middle school library? How many of them? Is it 5, 10? What percentage of the books that are in the library to begin with? They've picked 1 or 2 books for which there are probably a couple copies, and they've decided to make to pretend that the library is overflowing with the book genderqueer when it's not. It's nonsense.
Age appropriate. There's a big difference between a 5-year-old reading that and a 17-year-old reading that, and you have to agree with that, Tim.
But in a middle school library, you said it shouldn't be banned.
Well, also middle schools and high schools are often merged. So sometimes you will have a school where material is available that might be adult content or for older audiences. I don't think that we should outlaw and just remove all of these books and burn them. This is exactly what happened 100 years ago when...
There's a difference between Playboy and Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah.
Wait. Are there Playboys, you fucking idiot, in the library? Also, do you think that there's any educational value to Playboy? No. The only value to Playboy is to jerk the fuck off. That's it. There is no alternative, there is no like literary value to that. The Playboys aren't books. They're fucking jerk off magazines. That's all they are. Second of all, how fucking old is Tim? Who the fuck reads Playboy? Nobody. I don't even think, does Playboy even exist? I'm assuming they're just a website now, but like, how old are your references, my guy? Jesus. Ay. Like, oh, actually, you know what I just thought about? Okay, you want to hear a really good example? Let's take a break from this for a second. You want to know a really good example? Okay. Are you familiar with King magazine? This is a magazine from the early 2000s. Frequently, it's kind of a hip hop and rap adjacent magazine, but oftentimes there would be large exposés of scantily clad women. We'll say some big booty bitches, as one might say in the early 2000s. These magazines were sold at newsstands in grocery stores, at Walmarts, at Kmart's, at all sorts of venues, at libraries, at bookstores, at whatever. Now, if I go to a grocery store and I find myself the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, I find me King magazine with I can't remember any of the models' names, but rap music video models' names, big asses, big cheeks. If I'm in the grocery store and I walk past the newsstand or the magazine section of my local grocery store, is that grocery store providing porn or sexually explicit content to my children? Or is it just an option? Is it just sitting on the stands, and if I happen to be interested in it, I can? If I just want to go and buy my my chicken thighs or whatever other groceries, I can do that too. The same applies to libraries. People go into libraries usually looking for specific information or going to look for specific literature, whether it be like you're into fantasy books, whether you're into if you're into manga. We had like a big manga section back when I was in school. Shit, if I remember correctly, in our library we had Dragon Ball Z manga, and those had like titties in them and shit, like just bare fucking Bulma titties right there for you. But like, is that damaging? No, it's not damaging. First of all, it's fucking cartoons. Second of all, like, we had 6th graders who were getting into that sort of stuff, but I didn't know about it because I wasn't going to go look for that sort of stuff. Like, at the end of the day, like, everything is always available, especially with the internet. Almost anything is available to anyone at your fingertips, on your phone, on your computer, on whatever device that you have. If you're connected to the internet, you can find out, you can consume information on whatever topic you would like to. And like, the idea that like libraries are somehow any different is absurd. Kids have every access on the internet that they do to porn, that they do the same way that they have access to these. If they're not going to go look for it, they're not going to find it. So like, and even so, like, you go to the library, usually like, oh, I want to check out a book that's like this. I want to check out a book like that. And sometimes there are those kids that are like, I want to check out a book with like some gay themes or some, sexual themes. Maybe that's, I'm starting to think more sexually about classmates, whatever that might be. But like, that's the normal part of growing up. And this whole panic about it is just like a refusal to engage with the absolutely normal and uncontroversial development of young people. Anyway, let's continue with this and then we'll finish
exactly.
There's a difference between this book is gay and Catcher in the Rye. If someone's saying, oh, this book has offensive ideas in it, then sure, banning that. But these are sexually graphic books that are available.
Wait. Is Tim Pool okay with banning Catcher in the Rye then? He just said, okay, then ban it. So he's okay with banning Catcher in the Rye.
To grade school kids. If your position is that you think it shouldn't be censored, that's quite literally the argument conservatives have. That's you would be arguing for granting children access to this.
Shouldn't parents of 5, 6, 7-year-olds be monitoring what they check out of a library? I do think that is up to the parent to decide what's the child allowed to check out. If a child who's 7 years old picks out one of these books from the library, yeah, I would absolutely understand that their parent wouldn't want them to read it. But if they're 17 years old,
in a library where kids can access it.
Yeah, but it's not pornography. I think that when you look at
what's really funny is Tim likes to throw this pornography term around. What's the actual definition of pornography? Because I know he loves. All right, let's take a look. The art or practice of taking and possessing photographs. That's photography. God damn it. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you so much. Just spell the word I want you to. Why do you keep. God damn it. Porno. Thank you, Jesus. Printed or visual material containing the explicit description or display of sexual organs or activity intended to stimulate erotic rather than aesthetic or emotional feelings. So, yeah, gender, I don't think any of these books are really meant to stimulate you so much as they're supposed to like, what's it called? I don't think, we looked at those pictures from Genderqueer. Were those stimulating? Also, they were in the context of a story being told. So,
books that
can nothing be
display
stimulating
anatomy
and sexual
and
in
teach about what queer sex is
actually,
about.
yeah, I just thought about that. Is are PG-13 sex scenes porn then? I mean, under that definition, I guess they are. But I mean, are they? They're PG-13 ones. We kind of have an understanding that there's a difference.
It's not necessarily pornography. The thing is that there's so few resources available to queer people in general, and specifically queer youth, that when we try to censor and shield all youth from this idea of LGBTQIA, that is the censorship that is harmful, because that's the breeding of children, that's the grooming of children to hate people who are LGBTQIA and to fear them and to think that they are othered. And that's the reason I was called a faggot, and that's the reason Kitty was called a faggot, because kids didn't hear from their parents or their teachers or their peers that it's okay to be queer. And so, yeah, there might be some explicit imagery in that. And again, I agree that shouldn't be shown to kids who are in elementary and early middle school.
Or available to them?
Or available to them. But the thing is, maybe shouldn't that be up to the librarian? Hey, you're 6 years old. I'm not going to let you check out this book.
But they don't have to check it out to read it. They go in the library and they can read any book they want. So some things should not be available to kids. I mean,
wait, if they wait, idiot. If they can pick out whatever they want, then aren't we kind of saying that like that's up to the parents and to the librarians to kind of adjudicate like whether it's appropriate? Like if you're a kid, if you're like an elementary school child, even though I think that Catcher in the Rye is a, like, as much as I don't like it as a book, I think it's literally important and like it has value, even though I think it's like cringe or whatever. But I also wouldn't like if a kid, like if a 7-year-old wanted to check out Catcher in the Rye, I'd be like, not yet. I'd be like, wait a couple years. But like, I wouldn't say like take it out of the library. You just have it be there, and if somebody who's appropriate next walks up and goes, I want to check out Catcher in the Rye, you're like, okay, you're like 13, sure, go ahead. Because it's the end of the day, it's like I said, it's valuable literarily, but But yeah, like that's, parents at the end of the day, if they're homophobic, if they're transphobic, if they're any of these things, are always just going to be like, nope, it's gay. Nope, you can't read that. Nope, you can't read that. It's gay. Nope, 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 nope. Goes against Jesus. No, 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 no. Can't read that. Then it's like, all right, so kids with bigoted parents just don't get an education or an understanding of these things, whether they are or aren't queer themselves. Cool. That's nice.
Or pornography, sexual explicit activities.
A lot of these arguments that I hear from you and from other people within the community, they seem very outdated. Like people don't have any representation, or they don't see depictions of like gay or trans or anything. I mean, that's all you see now. I mean, I don't understand.
Well, that's because we had to fight for that. When I graduated high school almost 20 years ago, and I didn't see anything like this. I didn't have anything like this. I didn't have Grindr.
Read about
I didn't have anybody to be able to talk to about that. And that is what made my peers and the people around me make me think that there was something wrong with me because I was a queer person.
And I kind of had the opposite. I was raised around gay people. My grandmother.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this person is kind of speaking from a pretty privileged position. If all of this is true, then it seems like they got they had kind of the easy road and are like, I don't get it. Like, everyone's so understanding now. Like, gay people are everywhere. And it's like, well, yeah, but like, it's still, do you notice how it's the same way how like every time there's like, we saw a little bit of this with the Fox News segment. Like, there's a gay character and they spent an entire, 3-4 minute segment on national television complaining that there was a trans character in one of the in the new Barbie movie. And it's like, yeah, are gay people, are trans people, are queer people more, like, will you see them visibly more in media? Yes. But what you're also going to see is the constant debate about whether whether those folks like belong in media. There is still an active effort to label anything that stars gay people, has gay characters, all the rest of that stuff. There's still an effort, a concerted effort by people online and in power, in legislation, in legislatures across the country to make it controversial. It's still controversial to these people that you would have gay people in the military. We just kind of saw this, trans people in the military. We just saw this with the rejection of trans healthcare in the military. Like, at the end of the day, these groups have not given up on their campaign to keep America straight. Like, that is what they're here for. At the end of the day, whether this person lives in a neighborhood that's very accepting or not, that's not how it is in the entire country. And it certainly isn't how it is in Washington, D.C., where a lot of decisions are being made federally to decide the rights of people like him.
Lived in Palm Springs. I was there every summer, and heavily gay town. She had gay friends and
not everyone has access to gay towns, man.
I remember the first time I was served by this man in a restaurant. He had a beard and he had fake eyelashes on and mascara. And I knew at that moment that he was gay. And I knew I was gay already. And when I saw him, it absolutely horrified me, because it's the opposite of what you didn't have. The actual depictions that I had of homosexuality, I thought were negative, and I was being shown that from the gay community.
What made you think that, though? What made you think that seeing
I thought it looked
a man wearing mascara, there was something inherently wrong about that? You don't think that had anything to do with the culture that you grew up in?
I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was wrong. I thought it was just not attractive. I mean, it had nothing to do with morality.
Well, I don't think that everybody is dressing themselves and putting on their makeup to make you attracted to them.
I understand that, but I also have that opinion. I mean, when people put on.
So is this person like one of these gays against groomers? If the gays were just quieter, they would leave us alone. Even though I'm like, no, they wouldn't. Also, second of all, that's essentially saying like, look, if we just pretend we don't exist, maybe the straights will leave us alone. And it's like, no. Like, no, that's bullshit. Why would you even, like, the idea that you take that position? I don't know if that's their position, but like, that's kind of the vibe I get, that it's like, they're the quiet gay. Like if gays could just be quieter, then we wouldn't cause so much of a stir. But that's not your fault. The fact that there are bigots who are and homophobes who get really upset by the existence of gay people, you're not responsible for their response. Like, you're not responsible for any of that. Those people need to get over themselves and get over their hangups. Like, that's their fucking problem.
On their drag, their outfit, you're walking, you're not sitting at home doing it. Of course you're going
How do you
out.
know that?
Well, because I'm a drag queen and I don't sit at
But
home
again,
and
drag queens are not monoliths. The drag community is not a
absolutely.
monolith.
You're
What you
you're
may or
absolutely
may not
correct.
do in drag is
Right.
not representative of the entire drag
Right.
community.
I mean, you
know,
don't dress like this all the time.
I don't, maybe not all the time, but often. And even after I do a gig, I will spend the day in this because you know what? It makes people actually recognize that I am a queer person and people will gender me correctly when I'm dressed like this versus when I'm dressed down. And that's why a part of my incentive to do it as a drag performer, as a trans person, I don't mind being in this all day because people are more likely to refer to me in the pronouns that I use and to see me the way that I want to be seen. And that's a big part of this argument is queer people just want to be seen and recognized in the way that they see themselves.
But that's impossible.
I don't think it's impossible. I mean,
Especially when it's fluid. I have a friend. She wanted.
I don't know what he means. That's impossible. Wait, what? Wait, go back. I'm confused.
I don't mind being in this all day because people are more likely to refer to me in the pronouns that I use and to see me the way
Makes
that I
sense.
want to be seen. And that's a big part of this argument is queer people just want to be seen and recognized in the way that they see themselves.
But that's impossible.
Okay, so yeah, that's like one of those like, wait, what do you mean that's impossible? There are people Tim, you wear, first of all, does Tim ever wear anything other than black? But either way, the way Tim wears clothes that are very masculine coded, very man coded. Do you think he does that because he doesn't want to be seen as a man? No, he does. That's a prerogative to him. For Tim Pool, he dresses in a way that makes him feel like he looks professional and serious to other people, and he would like them to see him the way that he wants to be seen, as a centrist, as a good faith actor, as a journalist, as all of these things. That it's no different than than LGBT folk. It's the exact same thing. Like it's not really it's not impossible. It's just you don't want to do it because you don't respect these people.
I don't think it's impossible. I mean,
Especially when it's fluid. I have a friend. She wanted me to talk about this. Her name is Megan. She works for the LA School District. She's a counselor, and they are walking on eggshells every day because they have children who are gender fluid.
Deal with it.
Go back and forth.
Deal
and
with
that's
it.
why you put air quotes around that as if gender fluid people don't exist.
Well,
Even though it's not your experience.
because I just personally don't believe in it.
Okay, so because it's not your
And again, like this person is unfortunately what's the word I'm looking for? Reproducing the exact same kind of like homosexuals that kind of activity that we would see back in the early 2000s and in the 90s, where people would be like, being gay is not really real. It's just people rebelling against their families, or it's people who are confused or mentally ill, or any number of things that gave them the excuse or gave them enough plausible deniability that they weren't bigots. They were just being honest, about the gays not being real people or whatever have you. Like at the end of the day, like denying somebody's identity just because you don't like it or you don't believe it, is it's just one of those like, all right, do you have a stronger argument than that? It's just you don't get it, so it doesn't exist. Like, and mostly I don't really care about individuals. Like I don't care about this person's opinion. Like they can not believe in non-binary people as much as they want. What I care about is the government and about how we structure society, and if we allow those people to actually function and exist in society. If we do, great. Then this person can have whatever dipshit opinion they want. But if we're arguing for the the second classing of a group of people because you just don't get it and don't agree with it, then that's where we get into a whole different conversation.
Your experience and you don't believe in it, other people may not be like that.
Well,
That's really not a strong argument at all.
To ask a question then, how can you perceive someone the way they want to be seen if every day they're
exactly.
Well,
That's
it's
the point.
That's the
point.
thing is that's why people are saying these are my pronouns, and then you have folks who are saying I don't do pronouns.
It's so unnecessary.
And that's the thing is but that's the
Wait, no, but okay, this person's just really stupid. No, because if you're non-binary, your pronouns are they, them. That's it. That's the only thing. If you're this counselor, that's the only thing you have to worry about. Like is there gender pronouns? That's it. That's all you have to do. You're an adult. Put your big girl pants on and learn how to use language properly. It's not hard. You learn new words almost every single day as a teacher, probably, or at least in a school setting, you probably learn a different word every day. Learn to use they, them pronouns. It's not hard.
The gag is
And also, even if you fuck up, just apologize and correct yourself. And if you're like, I shouldn't have to do that, then fuck yourself. Then you can join the unemployment line, I guess. You can join that 3% unemployment that we have right now. But if you want to be an asshole, then just say you want to be an asshole. But if you're just making honest mistakes, people will give you grace.
Everybody uses pronouns. People are just saying these are the pronouns that I use. Just call me she instead of he. Call me they instead of she. And is it really that difficult to respect people and acknowledge people the way that they see themselves? And what is the actual inherent harm in that?
It's also not
nothing.
It's also not difficult to just let it roll off your back.
It's actually I will tell you why it is difficult to let it roll off my back.
Oh yeah, and this is maybe you shouldn't mind. It's well, no. Because if we just did that, then I'll just refer to Tim Pool as a woman from now on and use she, her pronouns, and he's gonna go hey, whoa, well, why do you keep saying that? It's well, shouldn't you not care? And then Tim Pool goes well, I'm a man, I act like a man, I talk like a man, I am a bitch, but I'm manly, I skateboard, I do all these things. And if I go too bad, I'm referring you to as she, her, Tim would be what, any person would be what the fuck, that's not. That doesn't you're actively disrespecting me. And this is the argument of just let them just let them spit in your face. It's okay. And it's no, fuck that.
Back when there are over 500 anti-LGBTQIA bills moving across the United States on the state level, on the federal level, I cannot let that roll off my back because there are people who would wish to see my existence eliminated. And the same with my.
Also, can you point me to people actually teaching this in school? I've been on this interview for quite a while, and this kind of already got covered, but still, if you wanna, what do you mean by teaching? What schools do you mean? Do you mean high school? Do you mean middle school? Do you mean elementary school? Do you mean kindergarten? Be more specific with your complaints, please.
My community, and it started off in we just don't want trans people in sports, and now it's moved to
so all colleges, all high schools. There aren't so essentially transgender people don't exist. Do not allow anybody to be educated about the existence of trans people. That's what you're advocating for?
We're banning gender affirming healthcare across the board. Florida wants to take kids away.
They always leave out children.
Okay, well, you want to move into that? We can talk about that.
But they always argue that.
Keep in mind also, they argue children, but a bunch of the laws are also affecting adults' access to healthcare.
You'll see them go on and on and on and on. I'm but they're not talking.
Do you really
why?
Did you not know that you were a queer person when you were a teenager?
No, I'm not. No, because I'm not queer because that's a slur.
Oh,
but you won't respect that.
Okay, all right. Well, if you don't want to be referred to as queer, I won't. But I have reclaimed the use.
Wait, why doesn't he just let that roll off his back? Why are you now now they're the disrespect. Now I have to hold you to account. Again, this always comes down to you're only politically are they okay with it when it's pronouns that they don't use and don't care about. But if you call this person queer, they're excuse me, that's a slur to me. And it's well, wait, you're telling people who have different pronouns, that they should just let the non-use of those preferred pronouns roll off their back. But suddenly now you're getting all up in your panties about fucking being called queer. So it's almost like you only really care when it's stuff that offends you. Like, all right, cool.
Yeah,
the word
and
queer.
and you can do that.
Well, just
What
as you
is-
said,
what-
faggot.
Yeah.
What is gender? How would you define gender?
Oh my god, how many do we really? Does Tim really not understand what gender is? You know the thing, you know the thing that they tell like at the end of all YouTube videos where they tell you to like click on one of these like things to watch more videos. Yeah, I've been meaning to film one of those. So that's what I was doing. I was just setting it up to film one.